Welcome. Hello, John Tidlow is the first person I saw um, make a comment tonight. So thank you to John. We're so excited to have everyone hopping on live with us this evening for another wonderful episode of Whip Finish Wednesday as we sit around and tell jokes, tie a few flies, and have a phenomenal time. So, welcome everyone. I hope everyone's had a wonderful Wednesday. The past few days has definitely been busy for Katie and I. We've been burning the candle at both ends. What's up, Dan from Denver? And Ken B, good day to you. Gary, howdy. For those of you that weren't here last week, we announced that Katie and I will be at Charlie's Fly Box on April 12th. That is a Saturday for their Umpqua Open House Day. We will be tying there. So if you are remotely in the Denver area within about 500 miles, we would love it if you came over and said hello. Hey, Mike Seymour. But speaking of Charlie's Fly Box, Charlie Craven, just because we're doing it tonight, figured we'd wear the old T-shirt, and we're going to tie this fly right here, the mole fly, and this is one that I initially tied because I saw Charlie tie it, and I fished it on and off. And the one of the times I remember it being very productive is with our good buddy Jeff Rowley, and he might hop on later on this evening. But we were fishing here locally on the Watauga River, and we couldn't quite figure out what they were hitting. And we tied this one on, and it was the game winner of the trip. It is the one that definitely saved the trip. So this is the mole fly. There's also the mole midge that I think this could pass for as well, just a different body. But it's a great fly to throw by itself. It is, even with the fluorofiber, it is a little hard to see. So a lot of times I will put it as opposed to using a dropper. And here's our size 24 that we posted today. And the fluorofiber there that you see, that is mainly per Charlie for the fisherman to be able to see the fly. And it definitely helps, but I don't care what you do to a size 24. They're hard to see regardless. But it's a good one to throw as opposed to a dry dropper, a dry, throw it behind like a little parachute or something, and just watch for the riffles, watch for the rises, watch for any disturbances in the water around your parachute, and then set the hook. This is just a great pattern to throw. You're correct, Dan. Is not super easy to see on the water, but in bigger sizes, it's not too bad. Yeah, Mark, a little smaller than the 2-aught popper that you're tying. Yeah, just a teeny bit. But like I said, you either throw it and then watch for the rise or the little indentation in the water as the trout comes up, or put it as a tandem rig with another dry that you can see really well. Only way I can see that is if I get an eye transplant. Well, sometimes I feel like the only way I can see it is if I get an eyes transplant. What's up, Steve? Thank you for jumping in. And Al. And as always, we have Katie on the other end taking care of me and taking care of you guys. Hopefully, we don't have any major issues with our internet connection this evening. If we do, bear with us. We'll get it back up. Katie has mastered that now. Practice makes perfect. And she also has some pictures that you all have sent in of the red quills that were tied this past week as well. I think we have one guide's choice that was sent in a little bit late last week that we're going to share as well. What's up, Todd? Awesome to see you. And Steven from Magpie Materials. Good to see you as well. I heard, and I haven't seen them yet, but I heard Steven has some really good CDC available. And that's one thing I have no idea. I honestly couldn't tell you if you're like, hey, where'd you get the CDC? The CDC I'm going to use tonight is Trout Hunter. It's just stuff that I've got but they don't produce, or they you can't buy the Trout Hunter CDC anymore. So I couldn't tell you where to go. I know Nature Spirit has some good CDC, um, but uh, but yeah, just the only thing I can tell you is when you're in a store, look at the CDC, see what you think, see how it looks, and if you like the way it looks of it, if you like the looks of it, then go for it. Um, I haven't tried the fully mill. I've got the normal stuff up now, but I've got the Primo Wild CDC to add to the site soon. Well, that Primo sounds pretty sweet. So we're going to start with a huge hook. This is the size 18 2487. And we'll work our way down. We might skip a size. We'll probably do an 18 and 20. And normally probably the size 20 is what I'll throw more often than not. The 18 is fine, but normally the size 20 is I'll be throwing. More not on size 16. Those probably be okay to have on hand. Anything bigger, not that it wouldn't work, but for this particular pattern, probably a size. If I was going to concentrate on one size, it'd be a 20. But we'll start a little bit bigger because I want to have a good selection in the box. The thread I'm going to use is the Semperfli 12-aught in gray. It's just a classic wax thread, nothing fancy. And we're going to start. Now, I'm going to practice good thread handling and all my tying tonight. And counting your thread wraps, making each thread wrap count is really important. So I'm not just going to haphazardly start the thread. More wrap it around the hook eye and start wrapping it back. So I'm not putting wraps on top of each other. I'm going to pop that off. We've got the thread started. Now with 2 wraps, I'm going to bring it right back up to the hook eye. Now, not right in front of the hook eye, but right there. That's where I want the thread to be. Now, see if I haven't Jeff, I was just talking about you. You missed out big time. And I haven't tried the Pedagene CDC yet. I've heard it's good, but I have not tried that. Jeff, I was talking about you and I being on the Watauga River, and this is the pattern that we had the most luck with a while back when there were little blue wings rising in our parachutes. Nothing was working, and we just gave it a go. Okay, so here's the material I'm going to use next. This is the Florafiber. And if I can find, I'll show you here on the side. Here it is. A package. It's a fancy package. It says a lot on it. It says Florafiber. This is an RD product. Just Florafiber. Nothing. It is fancy, I guess, but that's what it is. This is not Crystal Flash. It's not floss. It is like a synthetic little fiber. And I'm going to get 3. You can see there, I've got 3 fibers. I'm going to get 3 of them. Make sure I just get 3. Yes, I got 4. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'm cutting 3 off. When you first cut them off, we'll switch over to the hook. You'll see that there's a little bit of a curl in the little bit that's tied on to the hook shank, or not the hook shank, the zip tie. So I'm going to take the whole little bunch, pull it up. This is just like Charlie does. Pull it up just like that. I'm going to leave it a little bit long because I don't want these curls to mess up my little post, if you will. What's up, Tom Fly? Yeah, this is super easy to see, Steve. So there's 2 wraps back. I'm going to take the other 3, pull them forward, and I'm going to do a couple wraps forward. I'm going to hold this right on top because I just want that to be one little bundle sticking out the front. Easy enough. So we've got, 5 or 6 wraps going down to start the thread. Bring it back forward with a couple wraps. Bring it back with a couple wraps, tying it in. Then bring it back forward with a couple wraps. So even though I've kind of been careful with the number of wraps that I've built, you can see I've already got a little bit of a taper. Little bit there. I've never used trigger point in this. I think trigger point would aid in flotation, but if you put a nice little bundle in there, it probably would aid in flotation as well as visibility. But I've never tried that, Steve. That'd be a good one to look at. So I'm gonna pull out my CDC. My bag here is a little low, but I'm gonna try to find a couple fibers that aren't like super awesome, but aren't terrible either. I'm kind of weird. I like to save my really good CDC fibers for special occasions. All right, here's a couple pretty good ones. Put these back so when I sneeze, they don't go all over the place. And one thing that I'm going to show this little trick as well. One thing Charlie talks about is using the CDC feathers multiple times. So that's a pretty big clump there. I like setting them up so they go outboard. So as opposed to having them stacked up, I don't know if this makes any difference at all, but as opposed to having them stacked up like that, so they're going in the same direction, I put them back to back, back to back, and I hold them up and make sure that they're lined up perfectly at the tips. And they are. So here's where we'll go back to the hook. And I'll just set my clump of CDC right here. Might cord my thread up just a touch. Hold my thread up, my CDC kind of in an angle, and bring my thread down and around. I'm kind of hooking over that hook eye. Okay. Now I'll pull it to length, and I want the length to be the length of the hook shank. So that's about right there. I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3 wraps in. And I can double check here. My scissors, that to there. That looks about right. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna grab my little 4 fiber bundle here, pull it to length. I'm gonna cut it just a bit long. And I like to cut it a little. Here's your pro tip. Let's switch over to the side here. So take your little bundle here and run it in your mouth, and all 3 fibers will stick together nicely. So when you put it down, they'll be there for the next fly. You don't have to worry about, well, not as much anyway, about them coming separated or about them blowing away. So let's switch back over to the hook. You can see I want the 4 fibers sticking out to be about 25% of the length. So I'm going to cut it just a hair shorter, and that's about right. Something like that. With the hook or with the CDC, if you notice the hook's going up a little bit, and they could be going up a little bit more, but that's okay. I'm going to take my scissors, put them straight down. I'm going to pull this down as well and cut that off. So it looks something like that. Now my CDC feathers, we're going to save, and we'll set them right here, and we'll save them for the next fly. And now I just bring this around. So we've got our CDC tied in. Get that one out of there, and we're good to go. What's up, Ore? Hey. All right, so far we got a hook, some thread, and we got CDC, little CDC post there. One little fiber that's going to aggravate me. And we have the 4 fibers sticking out. The only other material is going to be beaver dubbing, beaver fur. And so I'm going to use, I like either this Moonlit beaver dubbing. Now this does have the guard hair in it, so it's kind of a little bit of a pain to pull them out, but in some patterns I like the guard hair in them. Or you can use whatever beaver dubbing you want, but I also have the Nature Spirit beaver dubbing. And that's a really good one as well. And just for the fun of it, we'll do the Nature Spirit this time. And it has some guard hair in it, but not a whole bunch. So let's switch over to this. Yeah, you got it. Perfect. So we've got our little bit out here. Now you can see that big clump there. I want you to look. Can you see what's in my finger now? There's just a little bit. So see that little bit? See if you can see the thread when I put this on. So you see that little bit on there? We're putting literally and it's not as big of a deal on the size 18, but the smaller we go, the more important it's going to be to get the least amount you possibly can on here. Remember, this is a blooming olive. This is a mayfly. This is not a big caddis. This is not a big attractor fly. This is can you use muskrat? Yes, sure, use muskrat. Did you find some purple muskrat? Because if Chris was on, he would say the purple would be definitely the color to go with. Hardy, hardy, har. So I'm just building my thin little noodle here. Put one more little clump on here. And I probably pulled out enough dubbing for 2 flies. But that should be plenty. So you can see I've got a dubbing noodle that for this fly, that noodle is exactly 2 1/4 inches long. It's probably a little bit too long. So let's switch back over to the hook. Perfect. Now you can see where the dubbing starts. I'm going to bring my thread down and hopefully, which my dubbing was starting right about there, but now we'll start working it up. So just touching wraps. We're not trying to overlap anything. We're not really trying to build much of a taper because we've got that CDC that's going to give us our taper. Bring it right up to here. And I thought I had a little bit much. So I've got, 1/2 inch there. I need just a little bit. So I'm going to pull off some. Pull off a little bit more. I'll undo it so I can spin that back up nicely. Bring it around. Okay, so now we've got our hook a touch crowded, so I want to get that off of there. Okay. Now it's pretty simple. We'll throw, only 1.3, well, maybe 1.7 inches. I'm not sure, Steve. So now you see the hook eye is perfectly clear right there. We'll put 2 wraps in and kind of pull to the back. And now we've got our hook eye good. We've got everything. See how nice and open the hook eye is. And now I'm going to take my favorite Sally Hansen's, put a drop or 2 right there. And here's kind of the trick to this whole fly. Well, I don't know if this is the trick, but definitely helps. Get your wet finisher, pull it down, make your little triangle or number 4, however you do it, and then use your finger and thumb, your pointer and thumb, pull everything back. 3, 4, and 5. Pull it tight. Cut that off. And now we've got our nice little mold fly. We can kind of adjust everything. Sometimes your 4 or 5 will get a little out of kilter. Pull our CDC up, and it's fine if it splays out a little bit. Just like that, and that's the way we want it. And if you notice, is that my fly is not as kind of thinner using with that Sally Hansen's. I'm not using any thinner. That's just how it's called a new-ish bottle. that's if I use this Sally Hansen's, it'd be a little bit thicker, but it's just a newer bottle. So if you look at the one we posted, the dubbing was a little bit more roughed out. So I just take a little, you can use Velcro, use whatever. I do kind of like, and normally I don't like this tool, but it is very precise for this type of work. So I can pull it and kind of pull everything out. So it's a little more. So what you want when you're fishing this fly is to, if you have any bumps or anything you're dubbing, you can work them out with this as well. But you're really wanting this fly to ride like this in the surface. So the CDC's above the water. That's what's kind of floating it. And the dubbed part is sitting in the film. So it's not designed to sit on the whole thing, sit on top of the water. So you're floating your dust, your Loon Locksha, whatever it is you're using to keep everything dry, goes on the CDC, and we rough up that dubbing so it'll absorb the water and make it make it a little bit better. So simple fly gets a little bit more fun when you get smaller, but we'll do my favorite size, which is the size 20 next. And after I finish this one, we'll go a little bit quicker. Y'all ask questions. I'll try to be a little more specific on what I'm doing. But after with this one, Katie will share those pictures we were talking about earlier. So one thing I didn't talk about when I put the hook in the vise earlier is normally when I'm tying on this style of hook, I'm tying with it like this, with the hook shank more horizontal. But in this case, I want it to go up just a hair like this. And we're going to do the same thing. Catch the thread, hook eye, and then we'll bring it back. Pop that off, and now cord up my thread just a pinch. 2 wraps, go right back to the front. We'll grab our piece of floor fiber that we had waiting on us. Go around, and you can see this is once you get it down, this is a pretty quick tie. Pull that to length. Now we'll go 3, pull it forward. 3 again, maybe 2. That. And you can see how we've got that little bundle sticking out just like so. So here's something that Charlie recommends. It works out pretty well. Take your your CDC fibers, grab it by the tips, pull them down, and you just need to cut off as much as you're going to use. So you can see I've got that much sticking out. I'm not being exact with this, but cut that tip out. Now pull everything forward. Make my bundle again. Pull a little bit more like that. Then I just chop that off. So I've got a nice little bundle, keeping everything aligned. Do the same thing I did before. Bring it around. Pull that length like that. Maybe a touch more. Bring that down. Do you put anything on the CDC to keep it floating? Could you use CDC puffs for this fly? You could use CDC puffs, and I will start the fly off when I'm fishing it with Loon Locksha, and then I will move on and just use the dust to as I'm fishing it, as it becomes a little bit waterlogged. Now we're going to pull this out again, cut that off about there. So see how we're looking. And this time I'm going to use my same. I think I can get by with one more. I was trying to lick these, and I realized one fiber is a lot shorter than the others. So I don't want to eat 4 fiber tonight. That would not be good. So we'll do this on the olive. So I just take it and pull out just a little bit. And same thing, just keep it. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a little bit of a there's a guard hair right there. I'm just going to pull it out. It's fine. I'm just building that same thin noodle. Now, why don't you think puffs float as well? Because I tend to agree with you, Steve, but I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of just I think it has more to do with the texture of the fiber versus anything else. But I tend to agree that I don't think they float quite as well. And it would just depend on the puff you're using. I don't think a whole puff would be necessary, even on size 18. But anyway, so we've got our olive here. So we'll do the same thing. We'll wrap down. And we'll have Have it start right about there. Start working way up. Just like this. That's about as good as I can get. Pull everything forward, put a couple wraps in. Yeah, that's what I was saying, the texture of feather structure. Now, would it work? Sure. I'm pretty sure that I've had fish bite these when they've been totally submerged and sunk, and as well as on top of the water. So I'm pretty sure puff would work just fine. I'm pretty sure CDC will work just fine if it wasn't didn't float at all. And this is a lot like there's another word for it, but a shuttlecock. It's a lot like that. So I was just pulling off the extra dubbing off of that, off of my thread. And now we'll put just a little bit of this on there. We'll whisper. So hold your bobbin just like this. Make your figure four, cross it, pull everything back, pull everything back. Make sure you actually get it pulled back. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Cut that off, and that's good. Now, if there's any question, if you're worried that you got, and I might have that time, I don't think so, but you can just run a wire through that to the eye to make sure you didn't get any glue or anything in there, and that one's fine. I'll do the same thing. I'll rough up the body just a little bit. Just like that. As you can see, that's a fast little tie. Doesn't take much at all. So I've seen puffs using wet flies as well. Yep, good old salty Sally. Yep. I'm surprised you don't have your own Magpie Sally Hansen's edition, because it's so let me show you the difference. And I'm just going to grab, I've got a bunch of these I've tied recently. Just kind of grabbed a random one that I tied earlier. So here's one that I tied. And I do have a regular piece of Crystal Flash. So here's Crystal Flash here. So you see how much thicker it is than the 4 fiber. And you specifically said midge, so we'll put out some midge here. So you can see the difference. But the main thing is, and I was kind of ready for this question. What's the purpose on it? And if you feel like that little bit of flash attracts a fish, then sure, knock yourself out. But if it's for you to see the fly, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, depending on the color, the midge Crystal Flash. So here's midge, and what color is this? This is pearl. So midge pearl Crystal Flash. So you can see it's probably 2 to 3 times per fiber the size of it. And even though in the light right here, it's really reflecting, I think you could use it. I definitely wouldn't use 6 fibers. I think it would be too obtrusive. I don't know if it would add that much, but maybe a couple fibers would be sufficient. Or like if you did a couple fibers and doubled it over, that would be sufficient. Just skip it for mine. Which one, Mike? Which one are you talking about? Just skip it. You might be talking about the floor fiber, and I've seen a lot of people tie this fly with no floor fiber. Just don't bother with it, and that's probably better than trying to add something, because that adds quite a bit of flash in there. And if you do, like I said, just keep it minimal. But good question about the Crystal Flash in it. What's up, Truman? You are just in time to see everyone's magnificent work. Katie has been hard at it. We had 2 or 3 submissions in the past hour, so she gets everything, or tries to get everything done. And she's like, I've got all the pictures ready, and then people start sending them in the last hour. So that is great. I'd rather have pictures in the last hour than not get them at all. So I will turn it over to Katie while she goes over and shows off your all's hard work.
Great. I'm happy to do it. And I wanted to start off first by showing birthday pictures here from John's birthday fishing trip on March 20th.
Yep, that's the day, March 20th.
So big day here, fishing with friends. And do you want to talk about whose fish this is and where you are?
So this is, and he was on here. I don't know if he's still on here. John Tidlow, if you're still on here, hop on and say hello. But he was the first one that said hey when we went live. But this is John Tidlow, one of you guys that that I was able to go fishing with up in Virginia this past Thursday on March 20th for my birthday trip. And he wanted to show me some fun places to fish and some cool things. But he kept getting in all the good holes first. I'm just kidding. He was trying to get me to have my birthday fish, and he went and I was fishing this fabulous hole. And unfortunately, or fortunately for him, he hooked into this 24-inch rainbow that was a beast. And John Skinner, who might be on here as well, if he's not, he came by and said hello, and he watched John. So it's 3 Johns, and John's buddy was with us.
But you had someone else with you too.
Yes, we did have someone else with us. So this is Bambi. And a funny story on this, I was sitting patiently working, diligently working on a fly because I had just broken off. And I was tying a little fly on, and I felt a little nudge on my shoulder, and I kind of looked in my peripheral vision. I saw 2 giant eyes staring at me. And I cursed, I jumped. I probably looked like I was walking on water because it scared the whiz out of me. And this darn deer had come up and was just hanging out with me. And John and I fished with this deer all day long. This deer would stand right next to us as we're fishing. He or she basically chewed on my fly rod. He did chew on John's fly line. So he hopefully didn't have to get new fly line.
So cute. But it's like straight out of like a Hallmark movie.
Oh, there's only 2 pictures you got.
Yeah. We had a lot more pictures, but you get the idea. It was adorable.
Yeah, he was right there with me. It was so funny. So, but it was my musky scent. That's right, Gary. I think it might have been the apples or the granola bars.
I asked him if he fed him anything, and he said no. I was like, why not?
Signs everywhere say don't feed the wildlife, and we were in the woods.
That clearly was not wild. That was a domesticated pet deer. True. So we also I have some flies to share. So I'm going to start off with Jimmy Roop, who sent us a few pictures of his red quill. Beautiful pictures at some different angles here. And then let's see. So there's were Jimmy's. And then Ken B sent us also some really gorgeous pictures. Ken's photography over the past couple of years has gotten really good.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, watching various people's tying and
photography. Absolutely. Thank you, Ken, so much for sharing your photos of your red quills. And Magpie, we pulled this one off of Instagram.
Hankins, of course,
just beautiful. Absolutely.
Diggity bomb fly out.
Nice proportions. Looks wonderful. And then Mumford is.
I wonder what kind of tailing material did he use? That tail on Steven's fly on Magpies look pretty interesting. I like that.
Let's go back and look at this one. Yeah. So this is N.E. Mumford Catskill or red quills. So that was one from Instagram as well.
That's a good one.
And then a couple of late entries here late in the day, but not too late. They weren't late yet. They were almost to the deadline. We've got Steve Yates.
Oh, Steve.
That's right. And then we got Barry's.
Barry Dickow.
Yes. And we also got one of his Guide's Choice photos that we did a couple weeks ago. So awesome pictures. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. And like I said, I love seeing all of these photos, and keep sending them our way because they're great. Thank you so much.
So Steven said on his tailing, he used a Whiting Dunn Grizzly variant CDL. So that's where that variant came in. So that's pretty cool. All right, we'll get one more of these knocked out, and then we might do another one. But I said we worked down to 24. We did 18. We did 20. We'll skip 22 and do a 24. So as you can see right there, we're doing the Tiemco 24D7 size 24. Same hook, just a little bit smaller. And if I'm 100% honest, I don't fish 24s too often, but I've got some of them in my box just in case. Usually, like I said, with this pattern, size 20, sometimes 22s, sometimes 18s, but roughly size 20 is what I'm going to fish. But I mean, this just shows how easy this pattern is once you get that kind of routine that I was showing on tying it. So let's switch over to the side and show kind of how I start the thread. So you've seen me like the close-up version of it, but if you'll just take your thread, and as you all probably see me, the way I start my thread is I'll grab it, pull it to where I just have just a little bit here, and I'll cross it over. So kind of got it hooked around my finger. I mean, it's not like a half itch, but in a way it kind of is. But then I pinch it, so now when I pull tight, I can break it off real easily. So then I take my thread and I pull it over to the other side of the hook, and I kind of hook it around the hook eye, and then I switch my hands like this. So I go from this side. I'm sorry, the camera probably should be a little higher, but that's fine. So I take my thread, hook it around the eye, and switch over. And now I just bring my thread back, holding the tag end down, bring my thread back, and then I can take my tag end that I've got locked in with that little kind of half hitch thing, hold my thread to the opposite side. And so I'm kind of pulling, pulling like this. And if I wasn't trying to explain it, it would have worked. Shoot. Well, when that happens, every now and then that does, I just cut it off. But most of the time, you just pop it right off and you're fine. If you're going fishing with Charlie, you may be using 24s, just saying, depending on where you end up in my neighborhood. Gary, are you going to come by on April 12th? I would love to meet you. And if you've never met Dan, I hope Dan says he's coming by. He lives real close to Charlie's, and be fun for the three of us to get together. I'm trying to figure out where all I'm going to fish. I know we've got plans for Friday fishing and Monday, I think, fishing, but we don't have plans. We'll be there till the following Thursday. The 20s are working this past weekend. Well, good, Gary. Hopefully we'll see you guys. We're going to be at Charlie's Fly Box on April 12th, tying at their Umpqua open days or Umpqua open house. Charlie asked us to be like their featured tire at that event. So we're pumped. You'll be up in Aspen. Oh, gosh. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. Pull this down. Don't let it be much. So this is the same feather. Cut the tips out because I don't want those big tips to be in there. Pull everything forward. Cut this out like that. Not the cleanest cut in the world, but that's fine. Take my big bunch here. Oh, guys, who said don't forget the fluorofibers? Someone had to. I'll just set those down. Find my one. Sure, I've got 3 there. Hopefully I do. Yes, I do. Pull it around like that. Pull that so I can get, because there's one fiber that's a little short. 3 wraps down. Pull this up. We'll just do 2 wraps up because I don't have as much space on this 24. Those front rated streams are picky. Forget how nice we have it up here. So, Mike, where are you? You got it, Jeff. Thank you. I'm all for. Okay, so I've moved these around. So I just want to make sure I've got them lined up good enough. So take my bunch here, do my wrap. Now, when you do this wrap, I'm gonna do it without the CDC in there. I'm bringing it over and down, and then I'm kind of pulling forward like this. So what I want to do is kind of hook with the hook eye, hook it around. What I don't want to do is have my CDC tied in back here, so I've got all that extra space. So bring my thread up, kind of pull it forward so it's hooked around the hook eye. And now I can bring this back to where I've got my little, and see there's those stems about like that, maybe just a little bit more. Okay. Got two really nice antennae, but we'll cut them out. So now we got that done. I'm not going to use this anymore, so we'll just cut that out. I'll straighten it up first. Make it like that. Cut the fish in the smallest one. Yes. Frying pan, wake up like this right year round. Like in the winter, green drake hatch is my favorite. There's a few spots frying pan that I've heard it. Sorry, I'm reading on what was actually the go-to this year. Good. And I didn't see John's. Sorry, I was busy looking at a fly. I didn't see John's comment, but I'm pretty sure he said he caught the biggest and the smallest with about 1.5 inches this year, or on that trip. And it was, I attest to it. I had. I'll show you a picture of my smallest in a minute. So we've got the same dubbing, just purple per Jeff Rowley's request. So we've got this purple dubbing. This is beaver. Just pulled out, pull just a little bit out, and see what's showing my fingers right there. That's all I'm going to use. You see that one guard hair? I'm going to pull that guard hair out. That might actually make a little bit too thick of a noodle. So just twist it up. Still one guard here and there. Pull that out. So all I'm doing is trying to make the absolute thinnest noodle, just dirty up the thread, color up the threads, really all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep it as consistent as possible. So you can see that's what we've got. And so Steve Yates will be happy. That is 1.5 inches. That is a proud 1.5 inches long noodle. So we'll bring it back down. You see my thread. I'm going to cut it a little bit, but shoot. Slide that noodle up if I can. I just made my noodle shorter. Now we're cooking. So what I told you before you didn't want to do, I kind of did. Pull that off. Pull everything forward. We're back. That. I'm just getting that last little bit dubbing off because I don't want to do a wet finish. Now you're shit. Don't tell people about the purple. I missed after don't tell people about the purple. I missed the next comment. But now this is one I have never fished this pattern in purple. I don't know if it will work or not, but Gary, it's just a joke. Everyone on here knows that purple does not work. So let's see those little beads right there. That's a little too much. I don't want that to really absorb in the CDC. So I'll just use my finger and get that off. But yeah, I mean, everyone knows purple doesn't work. It's just for fun and show. And looking back,
you're not meant to fish those.
No. So show the hook for a second. So you can see where you can just see the hook eye. That's all you can see. 3, 4, 5. I don't usually count out loud, but I like to count it while I'm live with you guys.
To show that you can.
Right, to show that I can count. So I've got this one guard here, there, pull it out. Everything else looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, I took a picture of a purple one this week, didn't I?
You sure did. Rough that up just a pinch, because that's going to make it absorb the water a little bit more and go in the film easier. And I'm pretty sure that I've fished this and it's been sitting on top of the film and it's worked. I fished this that because, you know, if I'm being honest when it comes to initially it's easy to put some floating on the wing and not on the body, but once you've been fishing for a little while, you'll just throw the whole thing in the dry shake and you'll shake it up. Almost looks UV. Almost. It's just regular old purple though. Purple. Yeah, it's just for camera. So everyone knows. So don't really, unless you're trying to do it for Instagram, don't tie purple. No one really fishes purple. It's just for you know, I wouldn't be married to Katie if I didn't tie purple flies. It attracts the best ones, right?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody knows that.
If you do come to the pan, purple copper combo is purple copper. That sounds interesting. So that's our 24 real quick. You know, if you don't know anything about fly tying, you're looking at that, you're like, it's not that big a deal. But if you do know a little bit about it, you know, that's a teeny tiny fly. That's a little one. Getting your proportions, having that wing not too long and not too short. And really that wing might be just a scotch long, but it's okay. And keeping that body thin. When you go to tie these, just try to color up your thread with the dubbing. Don't try to build any bulk with the dubbing. If you have done a nice little taper when you've cut the CDC right about here, right where my fingernail is, and you've got a little bit of taper, that's all the taper you need in this. And as long as you don't have a big bump or anything, no taper is okay. You see how thin that was, and you know the light's reflecting on each fiber, so it looks a lot fatter than it is, but how thin that was and how thick it is now once I brush it out. So that's my two thing. And Steve, you better send us a picture of that. And I might be able to get one more fly out of that. Probably not. That might be a record. I mean, I think 3 is about as much as I've ever gotten out of two feathers. 4 would definitely be the most. I don't think I get another one out of that, but that was 3 awesome flies with total of 2 feathers, some dubbing, and 3 hooks. And whoever said it, I probably agree with. If you don't have the floor fiber, just don't throw anything in there. I don't feel like the Crystal Flash is going to add anything besides bulk and besides giving something for that water to stick to. That's going to affect it. And this never shows up well on camera, but the stuff just absolutely explodes under UV light. It's floor fiber for a reason. It's good stuff to have just on hand. Let's see if you get the most out of it. Yep. Purple is when you're wanting to scare the fish because you're catching too many. That's right, Jeff. I lost my Prince wig there sometime last week. Chip clip the size, probably get a few more. Yep. If I were to put that in a clip, I might be able to get another 1 or 2. Thankfully, these days I will just throw them away. And even though I just have a little bit left in this bag, I've got a whole nother 3-ounce bag that is brand new. Although it's dark done, it's not natural brown. So I'm definitely looking for a good source to find really good CDC, but I'm not in dire need yet for them. So before we sign off, if you've got any questions, let us know. Let us know right now. If you don't have beaver dubbing, I would imagine possum would be okay. The key thing is don't use a hydrophobic dubbing. So don't use a dry fly dubbing because you want that dubbing to absorb the water. So the body is sitting down in the film. You don't want it to sit on its side and the whole thing float. So rabbit might be okay. But just for the heck of it, just for practice, use whatever you can get small. Seal would probably work okay. Seal might be a little coarse, possibly, but I think Nan was saying muskrat. I think it's what she said she had. That give it a shot. I'll check with him, Todd. Thank you for that. So our schedule coming up, like I said, we'll be in Denver at Charlie's Fly Box on April 12th. We're going to be up in Daddy's Flies up in New York on
May something.
The end of May, and we're going to be at the Gulf Shores show
May 31st, Daddy's.
And then we'll be at the Gulf Shore show sometime around then too, right?
Yes, that'll be like
she's my assistant's checking it out right now, so depends on how fresh it is, Nan. You might not want to be too fresh.
That's gonna be like the first week of May.
Okay, so a month from now we'll be at Gulf Shores in Alabama.
Yeah.
So we'll be all over the country. If you're out west, you can come see us. If you're down south, you will come see us.
Okay.
All right. So sorry about that. We froze up again, but Katie got us back and going. So I'll go and shut it off for now. If you have any questions, if there's anything you want to see next week, let us know. After next week, we'll probably take a couple weeks off because we'll be traveling quite a bit. And we thank you very much for y'all sending your pictures in and sending everything into us. We love hearing from you. So Gary, Jimmy, Jeff, Nan, everyone that's on, thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Katie to bid you adieu.
Everybody have a great weekend, and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.